saying that this problem is even going to be bigger. In 2020, 2021, I will read what the problem is. It was basically COVID-19, and that we allowed, at one point we reduced the tax rate, then we increased. But now it is going to be worse. But let me just read what is in our report, Mr. Speaker. The committee observed several instances where government employees were not able to comply with provisions of the law and human resource policies on the 1/3 rule of the basic salaries. Reasons adduced were tax reliefs accorded to public officers during COVID-19, but later lifted despite staff committing their net salaries. Moreover, changes in superannuation and tax brackets led to this anomaly as well. The committee observed that there is potential, and this is what I was talking about, of the same worsening due to an uncertain tax regime. Now we are in a very uncertain tax regime. But the committee is recommending the following: that the government ensures staff are not disadvantaged through imposition of tax or other measures on their salaries, and that any new policy regime affecting employees' pay should be capped at the maximum of 2/3 of existing staff basic salaries. I don't know how this will be done, but that is what my committee felt. Failure to resolve prior year matters, Mr. Speaker, is another cross-cutting issue. The committee noted various instances where matters recurred because accounting officers did not implement remedial measures on errors of omission or commission. Whilst awaiting the committee's report for any preceding financial year, it is the expectation of the committee that accounting officers be proactive and incrementally improve internal controls. The committee is therefore recommending that within 3 months of the adoption of this report, all accounting officers should avail a matrix on implementation of various recommendations. This will be alongside the usual Treasury memorandum. The final comment on cross-cutting issues is on resource requirements for the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Auditor General requires an independent and well-resourced audit office with guaranteed availability of resources and optimal staffing to enable efficient and effective execution of the audit cycle and to ensure continuous and sustainable audit operations. Over the years, the office has been grossly underfunded considering the huge mandate. The office continues to seek support from Parliament and the National Treasury for enhancement of resources to enable it build technical capacity, expand its presence in the counties, widen the scope and comprehensiveness of audit, and motivate its staff. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that there is a legislative proposal that is, I don't know whether it's already in the House or it is on its way to the House, which is trying to ensure that the Office of the Auditor General, the finances or the funds that are given to it are ring-fenced, that a fund is created for it. That is a welcome move, and I would urge that this House considers giving the Auditor General more funds so that they conduct even a more thorough forensic audit. Mr. Speaker, I'll give you an example that we have just, the Office of the Auditor General has just completed auditing, doing special audit, which was what I would call forensic audit on Article 223, the usage, and also on fertilizer subsidy, and on the sports stadium, which was requested by my committee. If you look at the quality of that audit, it would impress you. That is what we need to see. But that can only be realistic if we have a well-resourced Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, in a few minutes, allow me just to mention some of the cases that we have referred to investigative agencies, more particularly Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the State Department for Public Works, under paragraph 871. No, I'll start from here. Let me start with the State Department for Interior and Citizen Services, vote 1021. Paragraph 162, irregular procurement, rehabilitation and extension of Homa Bay County Commissioner's residence. Mr. Speaker, we have referred this matter to EACC. Why? Because on May 7th, 2020, a variation was effected to this contract of 6.4 million shillings, which was 56.4% variation, clearly contrary to the specific and clear provisions of the law. Section 139(6) of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015. It's clear it should not be beyond 25%. But you find a rogue officers vary contracts upwards to 56.4% with no justification. That is for the ESCC to deal with. State Department for Correctional Services, vote 1023. Paragraph 179, there was a collapsed perimeter wall at Shimolatewa prison in Mombasa due to poor workmanship. Mr. Speaker, first, restricted tender was applied here. No reason for restricted tender. Tender notification was given and contract accepted on 3rd April 2017. And the following day, 4th, contract is signed, yet the law requires that it should take 14 days. Clear provision of the law. And again, after doing work, the wall collapsed. So you can see someone an interest in this. State Department for Devolution, paragraph 185.1, the fund of ineligible expenditure likely to be fraudulent due to submission of forged documents. Mr. Speaker, there is a flood mitigation program in Western Kenya. 388 million shillings given by World Bank to help in flood mitigation. And you just know how our people cry when these places flood. Budalangi, Kanu, etc. Money is given to government officials to implement this project. They introduce forged document. World Bank discovers that you have given us forged document to account for the money. They treat that as ineligible. Yet, instead of Treasury taking action, then Treasury authorizes them that this money should now come from the people of Kenya, and misleads this House in 2020-2021 to approve supplementary budget. And we did, Mr. Speaker, to pay for this money, which became payable by Kenyans because of forged documents. ESCC, we have given you work. Paragraph 193 is irregular payment of demurrage charges. Mr. Speaker, a total of 75 million shillings was irregularly paid. What happened here is that the government of China decided to give us relief food free of charge and sends it with containers. Then government officials decide to keep those containers here for no reason, and now it occasions loss of 75 million. Mr. Speaker, should we close our eyes on that? Those responsible need to pay. There is 76 million, not taxpayers. Mr. Speaker, there is, I'm skipping some, there is one for the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, procurement and payment for consultant services, where a German company won the tender, but the same was executed by a Kenyan firm, which did not bid. So that also we want ESCC to look into. There is also under State Department for Early Learning and Basic Education, procurement of computers. 199 million was paid on 2,040 computers to 200 schools across the country. The State Department used an expired contract of ICT Department Ministry, which expired on 7th November 2019, but we are in 2020-2021. They used that contract to award tender to a firm. That should be investigated. State Department for Infrastructure, variation of contracts. Contracts were irregularly varied upwards, leading to possible loss. For example, Kiambu Regional Office decided to make payments worth 359 million, up from 273 million, variation of 86